Where is the Middle East today?
It is generally agreed that the Middle East includes Egypt, Israel, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, the countries of the Arabian Peninsula, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Qatar, Iraq, Kuwait, Turkey, and Iran. Most regional specialists also include the countries of Northern Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. The new countries of Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia. Former Soviet republics are also often included in the region.
Does the Coriolis effect make the water in my toilet, sink, and bathtub swirl clockwise?
No, the Coriolis effect has very little effect on such small bodies of water. The flow down the drain is mostly a function of the shape of the container.
When did Brazil move its capital city?
In 1960, Brazil moved its capital city from Rio de Janeiro to a brand new city in the center of the country, called Brasilia. Brasilia was designed and constructed on empty land near the center of the country in the 1950s. Brazil moved its capital from Rio de Janeiro to Brasilia to assert its independence. Exchanging a colonial capital on the coast for a new interior capital. The interior, underdeveloped, location of the new capital allowed a fresh start as well as an opportunity to develop the region.
How many Native Americans were killed during the period of European colonization in the Americas?
The great majority of Native Americans who had made what is now America their home for tens of thousands of years were killed outright by European colonists. Diseases brought to the Americas from Europe, including smallpox and the plague, also decimated the indigenous tribes. Furthermore, intertribal warfare, spurred on by the political interests of Europeans, enslavement, and the mass killing and forced relocation in the 19th century of the hundreds of thousands of Native Americans who still managed to survive all conspired to nearly destroy native tribes and their cultures.
What is a gypsy?
Gypsies are nomadic tribes that travel throughout Europe. Though they once were thought to have originated in Egypt. Hence the European name for them. Linguistic studies have placed their origin in India. These traveling tribes have been subject to centuries of persecution, including gypsy hunts and extermination at the Auschwitz death camp.
Is the Tasmanian devil a real animal?
The Tasmanian devil is a real animal, though it resembles few characteristics of its cartoon counterpart. The real Tasmanian devil is a carnivorous marsupial that lives on the island of Tasmania, just southeast of the Australian mainland.
How did the Soviet bloc countries respond to the creation of NATO?
In 1955, 7 communist countries created the Warsaw Pact to protect against NATO aggression. The Warsaw Pact originally consisted of Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland, Romania, and the Soviet Union. The Warsaw Pact disbanded in 1991 with the breakup of the USSR and the changes in Eastern Europe.
Where is Canada's population concentrated?
Over half of Canada's population lies in southern Ontario and southern Quebec in eastern Canada. This area, dubbed Main Street, stretches from Windsor, Ontario, to Quebec City, Quebec, and includes the major cities of Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal.
How much of the Earth's surface is frozen?
About 1/5 of the planet is permafrost, or frozen for all or most of the year.
Where is Gaul?
Gaul was an ancient country that included most of modern-day France. It is thought to have been settled by Celtic people from the north, as well as Balkan people from the east. Other empires took control of Gaul, and it eventually became the Kingdom of the Franks, the forerunners of the French.
Which religions began in the Middle East?
Judaism, Zoroastrianism, Christianity, and Islam all have their roots in the Middle East. The region is consequently filled with sites that are considered holy by all 4 religions.
Which country has the most Azeri-speaking people?
Surprisingly, between 12 and 20 million Azerbaijanis, Azeri is their native language, live in Iran. Considerably more than the 8 million who live in Azerbaijan, Iran's neighbor to the north. It is difficult to know the exact number of Azeri speakers, since the government of Iran doesn't release such figures.
What is the world's largest Islamic nation?
Indonesia, the world's fourth most populated country, is the world's largest Islamic nation. About 87% of Indonesians are Muslims. Islam spread to Indonesia during the medieval era.
What is geographic illiteracy?
In 1989, the National Geographic Society commissioned a survey to find out how much Americans and residents of several other countries knew about the world around them. Unfortunately, American youth scored the worst. Swedes knew the most about world geography. The media subsequently reported the geographic illiteracy of the American population. Due to the attention given to this problem, geographic education has since become a greater priority for educators.
Why were 10 days lost from the year in 1582?
In 46 BCE, Julius Caesar implemented the Julian calendar, which was 11 minutes longer than a solar year. By 1582, those 11 minutes each year had added up to 10 days. Pope Gregory XIII aligned the calendar with the solar year by declaring October 5, 1582, to be October 15, 1582, in the Catholic regions of the world, thus correcting for the 10 lost days.
What is the name of the currency of Botswana?
The South African country of Botswana, consisting primarily of the Kalahari Desert, uses the pula, which means rain, as their currency.
What part of a hurricane is most damaging?
Floods caused by hurricanes are the most destructive element. The low-pressure center of a hurricane causes a mound of water to rise above the surrounding water. This hill of water is pushed by the hurricane's fierce winds and low pressure onto the land, where it floods coastal communities, causing significant damage. Hurricanes also spark tornadoes that contribute to the devastation.
Who was Simon Bolivar?
In the early 19th century, Simon Bolivar led the fight in South America for independence from Spain. He is revered as a hero among South Americans for his role in the independence of Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. Bolivia was named in honor of Bolivar.
What do dams do?
By blocking the flow of a river, a dam allows a reservoir of water to build up. Dams are built in order to minimize floods, to provide water for agriculture, and to provide water for recreational uses. Dams in the United States are somewhat controversial, as the Bureau of Reclamation and the armies Corps of Engineers battle to build more dams and control more water in the western United States. Many outdoor enthusiasts and environmentalists feel that dams are not always necessary.
What are basins and ranges?
Basins and ranges are sets of valleys and mountains that are spaced close together. Most of Nevada and western Utah is composed of sets of basins and ranges.
What happened at 3 Mile Island?
Three Mile Island, Pennsylvania, was the site of the United States' worst nuclear accident. Luckily, no radiation was released into the environment and no one was killed. In March 1979, the nuclear reactor at the 3 Mile Island plant overheated, breaking the radioactive rods. Pennsylvania's governor recommended a voluntary evacuation of pregnant women and preschool children who lived within 5 miles, 8 kilometers, of the plant. It was the unexpected self-evacuation of residents in the area that created major problems. The evacuations yielded surprising information about the lack of preparedness of communities for such an event, and have led to increased planning and preparedness for nuclear accidents and evacuations.
Why do some cultures kill infants?
Infanticide is the practice of killing an infant. For centuries, various cultures around the globe used infanticide as a form of population control. Most commonly because their limited food supply could only feed a certain number of humans. Because of cultural biases, female infants were more often victims of infanticide. The practice of infanticide still occurs today.
How many countries does the United States recognize?
The State Department is the official U.S. government agency that recognizes independent countries. It maintains an updated list of the official independent states of the world. As of this writing, there are 194 states listed. Taiwan and Vatican City, though commonly considered countries, are not included on this list. Kosovo, which gained independence in February 2008, is the newest country to be recognized.
What are the deepest points in the oceans?
Lying deep below the Pacific Ocean, about 200 miles, 322 kilometers. South of the island of Guam, is the Marianas Trench, also known as the Mariana Trench, which is 1,554 miles, 2,550 kilometers, long and 44 miles, 71 kilometers, wide. The deepest point of the Marianas Trench is 36,198 feet, 11,033 meters. In the Atlantic Ocean, the Puerto Rico Trench is 28,374 feet, 8,648 meters, below the surface. In the Arctic Ocean, the Eurasia Basin is 17,881 feet, 5,450 meters, deep. The Java Trench in the Indian Ocean is 23,376 feet, 7,125 meters, deep. Another deep point of note in the Pacific Ocean is Monterey Canyon off the coast of Northern California. It is about 95 miles, 153 kilometers, long and 11,800 feet, 3,600 meters, deep. The cold waters generated in the trench create a perfect environment rich in foods that support a diverse range of wildlife. In comparison to all of these ocean canyons, the most famous land canyon, the Grand Canyon in Arizona, is 277 miles. 446 kilometers, long and 6,000 feet, 1,829 meters, deep. The world's ocean canyons are much more impressive, but most people will never see them.
How many provinces are there in South Africa?
In 1994, several new provinces, states, were created. South Africa is now divided into 9 provinces: Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northern Cape, Northwest, and Western Cape. The 9 provinces incorporate homelands of indigenous peoples.
What is Polynesia?
Polynesia consists of islands in the region bounded by Hawaii in the north and New Zealand in the southwest. The region includes the countries of Samoa, Tonga, and Tuvalu. Also located in this area is the colony of French Polynesia, which includes Tahiti and 117 other islands and atolls.
Who owns all of those islands in the Pacific Ocean?
There are hundreds of islands in the Pacific Ocean. While many are part of independent countries, others remain colonies or vestiges of colonial empires.
Where has 1/3 of the population of Suriname emigrated to since 1975?
Suriname was a Dutch colony until it gained independence in 1975. Since 1975, approximately 200,000 of its residents have emigrated to the Netherlands.
Why is permafrost so important?
Aside from the mediating effects on the Earth's temperature, permafrost provides a cover for the habitat that supports wild flora and fauna, which provides sustenance for the entire ecosystem of the Arctic regions, including the many indigenous people who live there.
What is the life expectancy in Japan?
Japan's life expectancy is now the third highest in the world, behind Andorra and Macau. People in Japan live, on average, upwards of 83 years.
How many indigenous people live in the Arctic?
More than 4 million people live in the Arctic. They are spread across national boundaries in such places as Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Scandinavia, and Siberia.
What is in the Taj Mahal?
Located in Agra, India, the Taj Mahal is a mausoleum for the wife of the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. After Arjuman Banu Bagam's death in 1631, her husband began construction of the mausoleum in 1632. Over 300 feet, 91.4 meters, tall. The white marble mausoleum is a grandiose and striking memorial to her life and death.
War with Iraq?
Numbers and methods used to compute the statistics of dead and wounded in Iraq vary considerably. From a high of over 1.2 million people, Opinion Research Business, which is more than the Rwanda genocide, to a low of 654,000 people, Lancet Survey. As of 2008, over 4,000 Americans have lost their lives in Iraq since the war began. How much money have U.S.
What port does landlocked Bolivia use?
Having no access to the sea itself, Bolivia made an agreement in 1992 with Peru to use its port at Ilo.
Who are the Kurds?
The Kurds are a Middle Eastern people who have no country of their own. They live in southeastern Turkey, northern Iran, northern Iraq, and other nearby countries. since the Kurds have been persecuted by Iraq. The United Nations established a security zone for them north of 36 degrees north in Iraq. The Kurds hope that one day they will have their own nation-state in the region where they now live.
What are the 7 seas?
The 7 seas spoken of by mariners from long ago are oceans or parts of oceans. The Atlantic and Pacific Oceans are so large that they were each divided into 2 seas. The Antarctic, Indian, and Arctic were also considered seas, thus totaling 7. If a sailor had sailed upon all 7 seas, he had sailed around the world. There are not just 7 but dozens of seas in the world.
What is the tallest self-supporting structure in the world?
The CN Tower in Toronto, Canada, built as a television transmission tower, is the world's tallest self-supporting structure, at 1,815 feet, 553 meters.
What is the oldest continuously published newspaper in the United States?
In 1764, Thomas Green founded the Hartford Courant in Hartford, Connecticut, which is the oldest continuously published newspaper in the United States.
Which Southeast Asian country is one of the world's richest?
The tiny nation of Brunei, composed of just 2,226 square miles, 5,765 square kilometers. Located on the island of Borneo, is one of the world's richest countries. Brunei's wealth is based on its oil and gas exports. Sultan and Prime Minister His Majesty Paduka Seri Baginda Sultan Haji Hassanal Bolkiah Muizzuddin Wadala, who is the ruler of Brunei, is one of the richest men in the world.
What is the channel?
The Channel Tunnel, or Channel, is a railroad tunnel under the Strait of Dover in the English Channel. The channel runs for 31 miles, 50 kilometers, between Folkestone, near Dover, in the United Kingdom, and Sangatte, near Calais, in France. Opened in 1994, the channel connects England with the rest of continental Europe.
Why does the ground sink?
In many places over the world, seemingly solid land lies over vast oil deposits or water aquifers. Without the liquid supporting it, the ground sinks into the space left behind. In some parts of California's Imperial Valley, the land has dropped more than 25 feet. 7.6 meters, due to underground water being removed from the area. Unless the pumping of underground water and oil is stopped, the land will continue to sink.
Are there tornadoes in Europe?
While 90% of all tornadoes occur in the United States, there are tornadoes in Europe, especially in western France. Other tornado regions of the world include eastern and western Australia, southern Brazil, Bangladesh, South Africa, and Japan.
Why is color important on a relief map?
A relief map portrays various elevations in different colors. But, a common color scheme found on relief maps causes a problem. On these maps, mountains are displayed as red or brown while lowlands are shown in shades of green. This is confusing because the green areas on the map are often misconstrued as fertile land while brown areas are mistaken for deserts. For example, an area such as California's Death Valley, which is shown in green on relief maps because it lies below sea level, seems fertile, when actually it is an inhospitable desert.
Where is the world's second highest mountain?
K2, at 28,250 feet, 8,611 meters, is the world's second tallest mountain. K2 sits in the disputed Kashmir region of northern Pakistan.
How has the West Bank caused conflict?
The West Bank, which refers to the western bank of the Jordan River, was supposed to become part of an independent Palestine at the same time Israel became a state. However, Arab attacks following the United Nations 1947 proclamation of Israeli and Palestinian statehood led Israel to take over the West Bank when Israel became an independent state in 1948, following a 1950 truce. Jordan occupied the West Bank, but Israel retook the land during the 1967 war against its Arab neighbors. Peace talks in the late 1980s led to an agreement between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization (PLO) for limited Palestinian self-rule in the West Bank.
Which Russian city is among the most expensive in the world?
Moscow is ranked 37th in the world, in terms of expensive cities to live in. It is just ahead of Singapore, Athens, Greece, and Caracas, Venezuela.
Where is South America's population clustered?
The population of South America is approximately 371 million, 23% higher than the United States. In South America, much of the population is found along the Atlantic coast. Brazil's Atlantic coast is home to two of the world's largest urban areas: São Paulo, 18.84 million people, and Rio de Janeiro, 11.75 million people. Buenos Aires, Argentina, 12.8 million people, is also a major urban area on the Atlantic coast.
What is a city?
In the United States, a city is a legal entity delegated power by a state and county to govern and provide services to its citizens. Cities also have charters, which are somewhat akin to local constitutions, and have specific boundaries.
How did the Inca civilization experiment with climate?
In the Urubamba Valley in Peru, in a city called More, is the remains of a great amphitheater-like terrace system. Archaeologists and scientists now believe that this was a great agricultural laboratory, where each area of the terrace exhibited completely different climates, allowing the Incas to experiment with different climates and growing techniques.
How did the Ukraine help feed the Soviet Union?
Often called the breadbasket of the Soviet Union, the Ukraine's rich wheat harvests were used to feed the USSR. Now, as an independent country, Ukraine produces 4% of the world's wheat and exports much of it to Russia.
What type of calendar did the French use between 1793 and 1806?
In 1793, during the French Revolution, an entirely new calendar was established by the National Convention. The calendar was designed to help rid French society of its Christian influences. Within this new calendar there were 12 months, each consisting of 3 decades. Each decade was composed of 10 days. 5 days, 6 during leap year, were added at the end of the year to add up to 365, or 366, days. Napoleon reinstated the Gregorian calendar in 1806.
What is a hemisphere?
A hemisphere is half of the Earth. The Earth can actually be divided into hemispheres in 2 ways, by the equator and by the prime meridian, through Greenwich, England, at 0 degrees longitude and another meridian at 180 degrees longitude. Near the location of the international dateline in the western Pacific Ocean. The equator divides the Earth into northern and southern hemispheres. There are seasonal differences between the northern and southern hemispheres. But there is no such difference between the eastern and western hemispheres. 0 and 180 degrees longitude divide the Earth into the eastern, most of Europe, Africa, Australia, and Asia, and western, the Americas, hemispheres.
What percentage of the world's poor live in South America?
Approximately 3.93% of all of the world's poor people live in South America. They are mostly concentrated in Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Peru, and Ecuador. Poor is defined as people having incomes of less than $1 per day.
How did a map help stop the spread of cholera?
During an 1854 cholera outbreak in London, a physician named John Show mapped the distribution of cholera deaths. His map showed that there was a high concentration of deaths in an area surrounding one specific water pump. Water had to be hand-pumped and carried in buckets at the time. When the handle was taken off of the water pump, the number of cholera deaths plummeted. When it was determined that cholera could be spread through water, future epidemics were curbed. This was the beginning of medical geography.
How does South Korea rank in the world economy?
South Korea ranks 13th in terms of its per capita GNP, gross national product, of $20,000. It is also the United States' seventh largest trading partner. Its economy is one of the fastest growing in the world, expanding at nearly 7% per year.
Aside from the Louisiana Purchase, how was the American West obtained?
There were several other purchases and wars fought to gain the land west of the Louisiana Purchase. These included the Gadsden Purchase from Mexico. Sections of the West ceded to the United States by Mexico, Texas, and the Oregon Country.
What is a tree line?
A tree line is the point of elevation at which trees can no longer grow. The tree line is caused by low temperatures and frozen ground, permafrost.
What are the largest cities of Europe?
Western Europe's largest city is Paris, with 9 million inhabitants. London, 7 million, Milan, 4 million, Madrid, 4 million, and Athens, 4 million, are the next four largest cities.
What was the Berlin Wall?
At the end of World War II, Germany was divided into four zones, each occupied separately by the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the USSR. The city of Berlin, while located entirely within the Soviet-occupied zone, was itself divided into four zones. Soon thereafter, the Soviets stopped cooperating with the other Allied powers. The three zones occupied by the United States, United Kingdom, and France joined together to create West Germany, while the Soviet zone became East Germany. A similar split occurred in the city of Berlin. The city of Berlin held the dichotomy of East versus West, communist versus capitalist. Many people who lived in East Berlin could see that those in West Berlin generally had a higher standard of living. It is estimated that over 2 million East Germans fled to the west within Berlin. In August 1961, the communist government, determined to stop this mass exodus, began to build the Berlin Wall, a wall that physically divided East and West Berlin. On the west side, the wall became the location of spray-painted messages that voiced free opinions. On the east side of the wall lay a deserted area of barbed wire and armed guards called No Man's Land. For decades, the Berlin Wall stood as the physical version of the psychological Iron Curtain that separated East from West. On November 8, 1989, the Berlin Wall came tumbling down. And soon thereafter the era of the Cold War also ended.
What are some world weather records?
The following are some amazing weather records. The wettest, Cherrapunji, India, with 500 inches, 1,270 centimeters, of rainfall per year. The coldest, Antarctica, with a measurement of -129 degrees Fahrenheit, -89.4 degrees Celsius. The driest, Arica, Chile, which only receives 0.004 inches, 0.01 centimeters, of rainfall per year. And the hottest, Azizia, Libya, which has sizzled at 136 degrees Fahrenheit, 57.7 degrees Celsius.
What is Aotearoa?
Aotearoa is the Maori name for New Zealand. It means the land of the long white cloud.
What catastrophe happened in North Korea in 1995?
Because of their isolation from former trading partners in the Soviet Union, coupled with poor relations with neighboring China. Failed economic policies that drove up the price of food, excessive military expenditures, and severe floods, the production of grain in North Korea fell below what was needed to sustain the population in 1995. This triggered food shortages and caused the deaths of between 1 and 3 million people. It is not clear how many people died during the 3-year famine. Because the government does not report these types of figures. The United States gave approximately $600 million to North Korea to help prevent mass starvation. The largest donor country in the world. America contributed more than 50% of the total aid given to North Korea to help stop the famine.
What is Truce Village?
The Joint Security Area, or Truce Village, is the nickname given to Panmunjom, a former village destroyed during the war that is 53 kilometers from Seoul. It marks the spot along the 151-mile, 243-kilometer, border between North and South Korea, and is the only area between the two countries that the United States still considers a combat zone. The border area strip, which is 2.5 miles, 4 kilometers wide, is patrolled by military forces on both sides. More than 1,000 North and South Koreans have been killed in this area since fighting ended in 1953.
What is the Middle East in the middle of?
At one time, it was common to refer to the Near, Middle, and Far East. Though two of the terms have fallen into disuse, the Middle East is still commonly used. The Near East, at its greatest extent in the 16th century, once referred to the Ottoman Empire, which included Eastern Europe, Western Asia, and Northern Africa. The Middle East referred to the area from Iran to India to Myanmar, formerly Burma. The Far East used to refer to Southeast Asia, China, Japan, and Korea.
What were Thomas Malthus' ideas on population growth?
In 1798, English clergyman Thomas Malthus wrote an essay on the principle of population, in which he described the problems of population growth. Malthus argued that the world's population grows faster than the food supply. But there are such checks as war, famine, disease, and disaster that limit the population.
What criteria must an area meet to be considered an independent state?
State must be an independent country with its own land, government, permanent population. transportation system and economy, and it must have international recognition.
What is the Commonwealth?
The Commonwealth, also known as the British Commonwealth, consists of the United Kingdom and the now independent former countries of the British Empire. The Commonwealth is not a policy-making body but is solely a loose voluntary association between countries that were formerly under British control.
How is water used in the home?
About 41% of household water is used for flushing the toilets, 37% is used for bathing, and the remaining 22% is used for washing dishes, 6%, drinking and cooking, 5%. Laundry, 4%, cleaning, 3%, lawn and garden usage, 2%, and other purposes.
Where is Greater Syria?
Some Syrians, Lebanese, Jordanians, and Palestinians see the boundaries of their countries as artificially imposed by colonial rulers, and hope to see a united Greater Syria composed of the four areas.
How are waves created?
Waves are created by wind blowing across the surface of the water. Though waves appear to move along the surface of the water, they are simply the movement, oscillation, of water up and down due to the friction of the air. When waves occur near the shore, they may become steeper and break.
Where is Acadiana?
In 1755, the British took control of Acadie, New Brunswick, Canada, and exiled the city's inhabitants. Forced to leave their homes, these people, known as Acadians, moved to Louisiana. The Acadians are still present in Louisiana and their culture has produced famed food and music, called Cajun. The area in southern Louisiana where the Acadians still live is termed Acadiana.
Which country is the world's leading bauxite producer?
Australia mines more bauxite than any other country in the world, producing 33% of the world's supply annually. An ore of aluminum, bauxite is especially prevalent in Australia's Darling Range, located in the southwestern part of the country.
What is the North Magnetic Pole?
The North Magnetic Pole is where compass needles around the world point. It is located in Canada's Northwest Territories at about 71 degrees north, 96 degrees west. Latitude and longitude, about 900 miles, 1,450 kilometers, away from absolute North Pole. It moves continuously, so to determine true north, look at a recent topographic map for your local area. It should note the magnetic declination, which means the degrees east or west. That you'll need to rotate your compass to determine which way is actually north.
Which countries lead the world in child poverty?
Child poverty is defined as the number of children from households who earn 50% less than the national median. Given this measurement, the countries with the most child poverty are Mexico, 26.4%, the United States, 22.4%, Italy, 20.5%, and the United Kingdom, 19.8%.
What is the Terracotta Army?
Located in Xi'an, China, in Shanxi province, which was once the capital of the Chinese Empire for 13 dynasties. The Terracotta Army is one of the great archaeological finds of the 20th century. It was discovered by two farmers who were drilling for water in 1974. In the 3rd century BCE. The very first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, united China. Established the longest-running form of government, built the Great Wall, and built his own elaborate tomb. As a symbol of his rule and to guard himself in the afterlife. Qin Shi Huang had an entire army replicated approximately 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 15 cavalry horses. All life-size and each with distinct facial expressions to guard the first emperor's mausoleum at Mtili in Xi'an, China.
How did the Nazis use geopolitics?
During the Nazi era in Germany, 1933 to 1945, the science of geopolitics was utilized to support Germany's concept of Lebensraum, or living space. The Nazi concept of Lebensraum was based on the idea that there was a racial hierarchy that allowed superior races to conquer inferior races. Adolf Hitler used this warped sense of geopolitics to invade Czechoslovakia, Poland, and the Soviet Union. For example, many claimed that the ethnic Germans living in the Sudetenland of Czechoslovakia should be included within the German fatherland.
What is the Atacama Desert?
One of the world's driest deserts, the Atacama is located in northern Chile. It is completely barren of plant life. The town of Calama, which is located in the Atacama, has never received rain. The Atacama is a source for nitrates and borax.
What is a water clock?
Water clocks were the first clocks that didn't rely upon sunlight, as with sundials, to tell time. They operated by dripping water from containers at measured intervals. There were two key types of water clocks, those that measured time by the amount of water remaining in the clock and those that measured time by how much water dripped from the clock and filled a measuring device.
What is evapotranspiration?
Evapotranspiration is the combination of water vapor being evaporated from the surface of the earth, such as from lakes, rivers, or puddles, into the atmosphere. And transpiration, which is the movement of water from plants to the air.
What are nomads?
Nomads are tribes that migrate in a seasonal circuit over a large region. Though nomadic people often build temporary homes, they consider migratory life within their tribe to be home. Nomadic tribes are located in marginal areas around the world, from the Sahara Desert to northern Siberia. The nomadic way of life is threatened because of general cultural prejudice against unsettled peoples.
What is the axis of the Earth?
The axis is the imaginary line that passes through the north and south poles about which the Earth revolves.
How does land turn into desert?
The process known as desertification is complicated and results from such activities as overgrazing, inefficient irrigation systems, and deforestation. It is most widespread in the Sahel region of Africa, a strip of land along the southern margin of the Sahara Desert. The Sahara grows larger because of desertification. Desertification can be reversed by changing agricultural practices and by replanting forests.
Which river carries the most water?
By far, Brazil's Amazon River carries more water to the sea than any other river in the world. The discharge at the mouth of the river is about 7 million cubic feet, 170,000 cubic meters, per second, which is about 4 times the flow of the Congo in Africa. The river ranks second in terms of discharge. It would take the Amazon only about 28 days to fill up Lake Erie. The Yangtze, Brahmaputra, Ganges, Yenisei, and Mississippi are other rivers with very high discharges.
What are monsoons?
Occurring in southern Asia, monsoons are winds that flow from the ocean to the continent during the summer and from the continent to the ocean in the winter. The winds come from the southwest from April to October, and from the northeast, the opposite direction, from October to April. The summer monsoons bring a great deal of moisture to the land. They cause deadly floods in low-lying river valleys, but also provide the water southern Asia relies upon for agriculture.
Where is the land of the rising sun?
The Japanese name for Japan, Nippon, which means origin of the sun, evolved into land of the rising sun. The name probably derived from the fact that for centuries, Japan was the easternmost known land, and thus where the sun seemed to rise.
What are the Arctic and Antarctic circles?
The circles are imaginary lines that surround the North and South poles at 66.5 degrees latitude. The Arctic Circle is a line of latitude at 66.5 degrees north of the equator, and the Antarctic Circle is a line of latitude at 66.5 degrees south. Areas north of the Arctic Circle are dark for 24 hours near December 21 and areas south of the Antarctic Circle are dark for 24 hours near June 21. Almost all of the continent of Antarctica is located to the south of the Antarctic Circle.
How does India's caste system work?
The caste system is the extremely rigid, hierarchical social class system of India. Based on the ancient Hindu text law of Manu, the caste system consists of 4 categories: Brahmans, priests, Kshatriyas, warriors, Vaishyas, merchants, and Sudras, servants. There are many people who are considered to be outside of the caste system, or who have no caste, called the Harijans or untouchables. The untouchables serve the most menial jobs and live literally outside of the social class system. The caste system in India dictates not only one's profession, but also whom one can marry, social contacts, and all other aspects of life.
What are steppes?
Common throughout Russia, Asia, and Central Europe, a steppe is a dry, short grass plain that can be flat or hilly. While most steppes were once forested areas, Cultivation and overgrazing by animals have left only short grasses and barren landscapes. In 1992, the two republics of Czechoslovakia agreed to divide into two independent countries, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. The dissolution of Czechoslovakia was a peaceful one.
Due to wars with other European countries in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Why is the Dead Sea dead?
Water in the Dead Sea is extremely salty, 9 times the saltiness of normal ocean water, and kills nearly all the plant and animal life that flows into the sea from the Jordan River. The Dead Sea lies on the border of Israel and Jordan and is the lowest land elevation on Earth, sinking to 1,378 feet, 420 meters, below sea level. Ottoman Empire began to decline and became known as the sick man of Europe. The empire's successor was Turkey, which became an independent country in 1922.
What is the Coriolis effect?
Due to the rotation of the Earth, any object on or near the Earth's surface will veer to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. This applies especially to phenomena such as ocean currents and wind. Imagine a missile being fired at New York by Los Angeles. As the missile flies over the United States, the Earth continues to rotate under the missile and it strikes New Jersey instead. Missile launchers and pilots need to factor the spinning of the Earth into their trajectories in order to end up in the right place. North of the equator, ocean currents and winds rotate clockwise. But south of the equator, the opposite is true.
What is the tallest dam in the world?
Tajikistan is home to the world's two tallest dams, Rogan and Nurek. Rogan is about 1,100 feet, 335 meters, tall, about 100 stories. And Nurek is about 985 feet tall, 300 meters. The United States' tallest dam, Oroville, in Northern California, is 16th on the world list at 755 feet, 230 meters.
What was Zimbabwe's previous name?
In April 1980, the British colony of Rhodesia was granted independence and renamed itself Zimbabwe. Rhodesia had been named for South African businessman Cecil Rhodes.
What monetary unit is used in Panama?
The currency in Panama is called the Balboa, after the explorer Vasco Nene de Balboa. Because Balboa established the first European settlement in Panama.
Where did Charles Darwin develop his theory of natural selection?
Charles Darwin graduated from Cambridge University in 1831 and spent the next 5 years of his life as a naturalist on board the HMS Beagle. The Beagle traveled around the world, including among its destinations the Galapagos Islands. West of South America, where Darwin spent 6 weeks collecting data from which he developed his theories of natural selection, published in Origin of the Species in 1859.
What is the largest city in Siberia?
Located in southern Siberia and on the Trans-Siberian Railroad route, Novosibirsk is the largest city in Siberia. With a population of 1.4 million.
What is the world's highest capital city?
La Paz, Bolivia, is the world's highest capital city. La Paz is located high in the Andes Mountains at an elevation of 12,507 feet, 3,700 meters. It was founded in 1548 by Spanish explorers and is now home to approximately 711,000 people.
Which state has the longest coastline?
Alaska has more than 5,500 miles, 8,851 kilometers, of coastline. The next largest is actually Michigan, which has 3,288 miles, 5,291 kilometers, of coastline. Far longer than both Florida, 1,197 miles 1,926 kilometers, and California, 840 miles 1,352 kilometers.